Peace and blessings, OMO HOUSE. Ja Rain coming at you. It is a new month, February. Glad to be with you. It's a little early, but I knew that I was going to see the James Baldwin movie, I Am Not Your Negro, this evening. And instead of having y'all be like, yo, what's up? Just decided to do it a little early. Anyway, for those of you who have been hanging out with us, you know that there is a new foundation called FaithWorks that I try to incorporate in some form or fashion. So last month we had a title of People of Prophecy. What does it mean to be a people of prophecy? Which was really a wonderful foundation for this new community. And really, I think what it did was allow us to lift our voices in a prophetic, radical vision of what is possible as community. So I'm actually digging the format. I hope you guys are as well. And, we'll see where February brings us. So this month, it is right on time. What does it mean to be a people of promise? And I think wonderful that it's February, because February kind of has a lot of different attributes that can be connected to promise. So, we've got that wonderful European holiday called Valentine's Day, which essentially marks what does it mean to promise love with the beloved. And it's Black History Month, although I practice Black History Month every month. But when we look at it, it is a wonderful time to ground us in a conversation of what does it mean to be human being and live in a community that has broken promises. There's a broken promise of seeing each other's humanity. And what we see, hopefully, is a move toward reconciliation and forgiveness, which, of course, one would not even attempt to achieve, but for the promise of seeing each other's humanity. Lovely Groundhog Day, right? Which is the promise of spring, warmer weather. All that's great. And for those who sort of pay attention to calendars and holidays, we know that February 1st was National Freedom Day, and the 20th of February in the USA is President's Day. So all of that is a promise of freedom, a promise of democracy, a promise of community, acknowledging each other's beauty and importance. So February, good month to be checking out a people of promise. Anyway, I'd love to now use some of the curriculum and lots of options. That's what I love about FaithWorks. But let us start with a poem, To Remember Our Promises by Reverend Sarah Stewart. And of course, I always change some of the text to be more inclusive. So I apologize for those who love the original. To remember our promises. Bring who you are as you enter our sanctuary this day. Bring your best self and your struggling self. Bring your mistakes and your triumphs. Bring your shortcomings and your recommitment to good. Bring yourself here and open your heart to beauty, to truth, to the door that is open to the presence of the divine. Here, in this sanctuary, we are trying to walk together on the peaceable way, trying to hammer out divisions and hatred and all that separates one from another. We try, and we will fall short. But held in love, we try again. We come together this day as a community to bow our heads in prayer, to raise our voices in song, to remember our promises and vow to live by them once again. And now a wonderful song.
to be humble, to be kind. It is a giving of peace in your mind, to a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is a thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibilities, and heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
That's what's up. We are nothing more than how we treat each other. Yeah, that was a wonderful group by the name of Alternate Routes. And a big shout out to FaithWorks for finding that song as part of this month. Anyway, what does it mean to be a people of promise? And for those of you who checked in last month, you know what I tend to do is honor the curriculum. And if spirit kind of takes us a little to the left or to the right, I go with it. But I try to honor the foundation. And then the rest of the month, I do what I do. So wonderful quotes that they start off this month with. And it says, promise is a big word. It either makes something or breaks everything. It either makes something or breaks everything. So talk about creativity, right? The energy and power of creation is sort of in a promise. And then Brian Andreas says, say yes. Whatever it is, say yes with your whole heart. And simple as it sounds, that's all the excuse life needs to grab you by the hands and start to dance. So talk about charging the energy of agreeing to make promises. It's like that's what life is waiting for us to do. That the moment that we say yes, which is sort of, in contractual language, agreeing to the promise, and you do it in your heart, what's going to happen is life is just going to show up and be big and be delicious. And then you get to dance. So how wonderful is that? There is power in a promise, maybe the greatest power of all. And for those of you who rock out with OMO House, you know, as much as I love the word inclusive, interfaith, some folks call us progressive Christians, because because we do Jesus different. So I'm going to honor that this author is rooting the conversation in progressive Christianity, right? So we progressive Christians regularly push back on the idea that we are inherently and irredeemably weak and depraved. We know that we're not perfect or without sin, but we insist that there is nonetheless strength and goodness in us from the very start. On this, we commonly agree, but what is not so common is remembering that this capacity for strength and goodness is rooted in our ability to make promises. And check it out. It's not that we prove ourselves through making and keeping commitments. It's that we become ourselves through them. This is the magic so often missed. Our promises make us. Our promises make us who we are. Of course, our faith hasn't missed this. Just think of the way our faith places covenant at the center of the spiritual drama. And I'm going to segue here and say, as a lawyer, one of the things that I became very clear of, the difference between a contract and a covenant, was that it was an agreement, it was a promise, but it was centered in the heart. Some say confession and correct belief are all that is needed, but ultimately it is our commitments that save us and make us whole. Our humble and flawed acts of making, breaking, and restoring promises. Just think about the commitments that you find in the commandments, right? Or the golden rule, or Jesus, aka Yeshua, aka Jesus, asking us to promise to love our neighbors as ourselves. Those aren't simply rules to be kept. They are instructions for self-discovery. When Yeshua, aka Jesus, asks us to keep our commitments to the least of these, he wasn't telling us how to earn our worthiness. He was telling us how to learn who we truly are. And who are we? Creatures constructed by our promises to and dependence upon others. Let me say that again. Who we are is these beings who really at core are like essentially our promises and our relatedness and our dependence with each other. So as opposed to, this individualistic culture that says, we're fully human once we no longer need anyone, Yeshua came along and said, nope. You will find yourselves only when you lose yourselves in holy obligation to another. Again, covenants and commitments are not what is required of us, but how we find the real us. So, what's beautiful about this is it's also how you find God or the divine or the sacred. And we all know this from experience. When we make and keep a sacred promise to someone, we don't just feel like, I've pleased God. We also feel like we've encountered God. This is the deep and redeeming mystery of promise making. Yep, it's a process of obligation, but it's also a place of encounter. Commitments don't just bind us to each other. They open up a holy crack in the universe, a sacred fissure that lets the Holy Spirit seep in. There was a great mystic by the name of Martin Buber, and he put it this way. When two people relate to each other authentically and humanly, God is the electricity that surges between them. And, we close out with Brian Andreas again. And he says it in his own way when he says, say yes. Just say yes. Whatever it is, say yes with your whole heart. And as simple as it sounds, that's all the excuse life needs to grab you by the hands and start to dance. So that's what we're going to do this month. We're going to make promises and we're going to have that holy dance begin. So it's short and sweet today, but if you are part of the OMO House Cyber Lounge, you know that there's lots of work to be done and lots of exercises and lots of communication. So, that's what I got. And I will see you in other formats throughout the rest of the month. But at core, we are asking, what does it mean to be a people of promise? Peace and blessings, y'all.